We're taking charge of anxiety, and on the last video I introduced what I believe is one of the most important concepts you'll ever come across. It's called the results chain. So let's continue to explore the chain using an example of how something like public speaking can result in a fully anxious state. And the following piece comes from our 7-part course that you can get free of charge at worldclassfriend.com. So let's continue to explore it by going through the chain using an example of how something like public speaking can result in a fully anxious state. So the stimulus could be that you're asked to stand and respond to something in front of a room full of people. That may trigger a belief you have that you are not a public speaker. Perhaps this belief about you not being a public speaker came from a time long ago when people laughed at you in class and has since been strengthened and become deeply ingrained. The mention of public speaking is enough to alert the body to danger, and it goes into what's called a stress response. Adrenaline, noradrenaline, glucose and cortisol are released as a part of what's often called the fight or flight response, which prepares you to fight or flee the threat. Your heart rate, blood pressure and respiratory rate all increase. You'll feel this in your body, and you may know that feeling all too well. You then interpret the situation, you give it meaning. Maybe something like, I'm feeling anxious, they'll see my weakness. I'll make a fool of myself here. The stress cascade of chemicals continues, putting you into a fully anxious state. You feel fear. Your heart's beating out of your chest, you start to sweat, your stomach drops, your breath shortens, and you may feel like you can't get any words out. This, of course, affects your actions. You may get a few sentences out, but it's certainly not what you're capable of. The result may be the regret of a missed opportunity. You've possibly drawn attention to yourself, which may have been the very thing you were fearing in the first place. And what you've done is gather more evidence to support that belief that you're not a public speaker. This is a continual feedback loop which becomes stronger and more entrenched. So you'll avoid public speaking at all costs and become increasingly anxious going into all kinds of situations, just because of the chance that you may be asked to speak. The results chain applies to all areas of your life. The stimulus or event can be something as simple as your first thought when you wake up in the morning. You start with a thought and it sets off this chain to put you into an anxious or depressed state before you even get out of bed in the morning. So what we need to do is learn to intervene in this chain so that we can change that result.